Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see all of you. Welcome to another one of our discipline dialogue sessions that we're having for the fall 2024 semester. My name is Dr. Mark Schneider. I'm the AVP of K-14 Academic Initiatives and Support for Ivy Tech. I help at a statewide level coordinate all of our dual credit programming, whether it's our 400 plus courses that we offer, 66 programs, anything that goes into helping sequence, build, create pathways, that all falls under my umbrella. Today for our discipline dialogue, we have Gail Cosby joining us. Gail, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quickly, and then we'll kind of jump into our talking points and make sure we also leave some time for Q&A at the end.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, my name is Gail Cosby. I am the program chair for elementary and secondary education at the Ivy Tech Indianapolis campus. And so I'm here just to serve as a guide and to answer any questions that you might have and to meet you. Thank you.
So thanks for joining today, Gail. Just to kind of level set with everyone, if you have any specific programming questions or questions about, your education program that you're offering for dual credit, Gail can help with that. I can answer any of the logistics on the dual credit side, whether it's from the statewide perspective or some of those kind of programming prereq type things. I'm happy to help out with that as well. Before we jump into a few of our talking points, I do want to say we just got done celebrating kind of being a term loosely used, NACEP November. So for those of you who have been teaching dual credit with us for 5 or 6 years or longer, you may remember what the Ivy Tech dual credit world was like before we went through our NACEP accreditation 5 years ago. Now it is time for us to reaffirm or reaccredit it or get reaccredited by NACEP. So this year we're in a self-study year. Next year will be our actual data submission. We'll have a peer review after that as well. All that to say, if you are interested in being a part of our submission, whether it's syllabi submissions, activities, lessons, we have to do paired assignments with our on-campus faculty and our dual credit faculty. We have a peer review session with the dual credit instructors, all of that. If you're interested in being a part of that, want to lean into it, I'll put my name and email in the chat. Just reach out to us and we'll be in touch with you for all of that. So as we get towards the end of the fall semester, one thing that a lot of our high school instructors are usually kind of surprised to find out is that, at least on the college side, the post-secondary, on the college side, programming is usually more or less dictated and decided by college faculty. So when it comes to credentialing, prereqs, new courses, all of that, the faculty drive it. And as a former high school teacher, that's a bit of a departure from the way the K-12 side works, where usually it's very driven by the administration and things like that. Gail, with the education curriculum committees meetings that happened in the fall, and some committees also meet in the spring and summer, but everyone always meets at least once a year in the fall. Were there any major updates in the education program, particularly that would maybe overlap with our dual credit programming? I know, like last year, for instance, we had a new course come on with science of reading, but didn't know if there was any other type of things that were discussed in the curriculum committee meeting that maybe would overlap one way or the other with dual credit programs. And if the answer is there's really nothing that impacts dual credit programming, that's also great too, because then sometimes it's just nice to have the status quo for a few years.
Yeah, I would say that it's now the challenge is, taking what was decided in the curriculum committee, because you have, everything that's great on paper, but then enacting it and putting it into practice and seeing how it rolls out in the classroom. So science of reading is something that, we have it, formalized, of course, but just finding out best practices. And so as we teach that and roll that out on campus, then we'll be happy to share, what we've learned in terms of that curriculum, how students are, interacting with that, and just, what tweaks we've tried that have made it the application of that course more practical. So that's where we are.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Um, with uh, with our dual credit pathway and next level programs of study, something that when NLPS was built out over, now it's, gosh, we're probably in like our fifth year of from when the programs were first created to where we are now. The end goal was to have a completion in mind, to have a certificate or technical certificate. I know the technical certificate for the education pathways also feed in. So that's typically a technical certificate, usually it's 30 credit hours. It's like the equivalent of like a 1-year degree, which flows into our associate degree, which is also part of our TSAPs, which are our 2+2. So you can get a TSAP at Ivy Tech and then maybe go to, in Gail's instance being in Indianapolis, go to like IU Indianapolis or something. So think 1-year dual credit, 1-year Ivy Tech, 2 years at IU Indianapolis, things like that. With the different education pathways, can you talk about maybe some of the options that are available to dual credit students, whether it's taking those courses and transferring them to a 4-year institution immediately after high school, or maybe coming to campus, or those TSAP options, or just kind of like what do you see with your students and some of the dual credits that they bring with them from high school?
Yeah, so there are a lot of options, Mark. So those credits obviously come straight into Ivy Tech and bring that student in with a leg up in terms of, getting started with us. But just as Mark mentioned, we have, partnerships with every state school and lots of private institutions as well that are 4 years that accept, any Ivy Tech credits. And so, as Mark mentioned, IUI is one that we partner with quite a bit. Our students matriculate out, they get their associates with us, and then they have these automatic transfer agreements. So a school like IUI or any other state college will take that associate's degree and begin that student in their essentially in their 3rd year of study. So for us, that typically looks like in an education program, that looks like doing the blocks and the student teaching experience in the 4-year setting, right? And so while that's handled over there, we have some hands-on experiences. And if any of you have taught 101, you know what that looks like with the service learning component of our coursework. But beyond that, much of the hands-on student teaching experience will be done in years 3 and 4, which is beyond the scope of Ivy Tech. It happens after the associates. But we are seeing a lot of invigorating partnerships happening with some private institutions that are really looking for students. They're really happy with the students that are coming from Ivy Tech. So we have a strong partnership with Marian University, for example, and a number of our students are actually receiving scholarships from Marian. And so particularly our students of color. If you have any students of color that, are interested in teaching and perhaps want to look into scholarship opportunities, Marian University is a strong partner to consider.
Yeah, I would have to, I don't have it at my fingertips right now, but I know the K-14 dual credit office that I work in, there have been presentations with some Indianapolis faculty members and Marian University, the dean from there, talking about kind of that pipeline, that future teacher pipeline, and the robust scholarship opportunities that are available. And they also have, there's a 5th year that's tied to it as well. I would need to look more details into it, but where they can, I believe they can get their master's degree in that 5th year, but then they
Yep.
have a lot of scholarships and um, embedded opportunities. So, it's not costing a student an arm and a leg, you know,
Yep. Thank
tens
you
of
for that.
thousands of
Yes,
dollars.
they
But yeah,
get a master's in that 5th year, and it really is quite cost effective when you bundle that up with, the undergraduate degree as well. So thank you for jogging my memory on that, Mark. That
yeah.
is a great opportunity.
Yeah, I'm jogging my own memory there. I'm just trying to pull bits and pieces that I've remembered from different presentations I've sat in on and things like that. So all good to hear there. I would say, just generally speaking, from my own seat here at a statewide perspective, the education and early childhood education too, but especially the education dual credit programs are kind of uniquely situated. Um, considering high school redesign and work-based learning opportunities and everything that has been discussed as potential options. Now, for those watching the recording on YouTube, today is Monday, December 2nd, and the state board presentation for the new graduation requirements and work-based learning and what that fits into and everything like that, that will be December 11th. So we're a week and 2 days away from that. So a lot of things could potentially change. But I do know that there have been a lot of discussions. How might we, to use Ivy Tech terminology, how might we figure out to kind of help solve some of those teacher shortage issues that we have and create those grow your own pipelines, for future teachers. I'm not saying I have a solution or anything like that, but I would offer, at least when having discussions with your own administration, when those new high school graduation requirements come out and high school redesign, when all of that is laid out here in the next 2 weeks, there's going to be a really big opportunity, and schools are going to lean into areas where there is robust work-based learning opportunities, and having that literally right within the building or neighboring buildings, depending on what your school district looks like. There's a lot of opportunities there, and all dual credit will be tied into that as well. And trying to get students their technical certificate while they're in high school, then going on and transferring that to a 4-year or Ivy Tech and then another 2-year. There's going to be ample amounts of opportunity for partnerships to try to increase that teacher pipeline. Um, Gail, next, we've had a few discussions or questions that have kind of popped up in the Q&As over the last month as we've had these discipline dialogues for what like a dual credit site visit looks like. I think sometimes high school teachers kind of have that mindset, understandably, of like a visit when their principal comes into the room or assistant principal for that formal yearly evaluation, and how our site visits are not set up or designed to be that, and how it's meant to be more of a collaboration and a partnership. Oftentimes, our program chairs and our Ivy Tech faculty members learn a lot of new, different either techniques, pedagogy, projects, assignments, things like that from our dual credit instructors. But anyways, maybe just talk to for a minute of like what you're looking for on a site visit, and maybe rest easy some fears that maybe some newer dual credit teachers might have.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, first and foremost, as Mark said, it's not nearly as intense as an observation from, your building leadership might be. And so, there's no surprises with me. I will be in touch with you, and it's very informal in the sense that I want to come and interact with your students and just participate, and whatever activities that they are doing, whether that's group work um, or whatever, I'm just there to partake in that day's activities. I'll make some notes, and that's really, about it. We'll debrief a bit before I leave, and then, obviously we'll have the opportunity to talk again afterward at any point as need be. Um, but thus far, I've been seeing some really cool stuff. Stuff that in the K-12 setting, in the high school setting, it's a little different because you have these students a lot of times every single day. I don't get my students every single day. So that is one advantage that you all have that I don't. And I get mine, maybe twice a week. And so the activities and things are just paced a little differently. And so I do enjoy dropping in and seeing, what you all are doing with your class time. I also will want to talk to you about if you're doing 101, especially, what does your service learning opportunity look like? And I've encountered, many different ways that this is handled by different districts and things. And so sometimes I see in a district where there is, true K-12 and you have elementary schools nearby, some teachers, have made transportation arrangements to go and make it feel almost like a field trip that's, conducted. And so it looks a lot of different ways. Other districts that have a bit more flexibility with their students are arranging for their own transportation over there. So sometimes this can be, limiting to students that are driving, but that's not always the case. And so there's a lot of flexibility there and it looks a lot of different ways, but I'm intrigued by, how you are implementing that and how that's rolling out for you, to get your students those 20 hours of direct classroom, 20 hours minimum of direct classroom, interaction and observation experience. Um, some districts really like to have those students that are already into education and they see that as a viable career path. They're, taking that a little farther and having students do other types of volunteering. They might read with certain students, do small group push-ins, things like that. And so I'm just trying to make sure I have my finger on the pulse of, how this works in different districts. And if there's any way that I can, support you or be a thought partner to you as you, try to figure out the different possibilities of how this can look, I like to bounce those ideas off with you because, I do have kind of a Rolodex of what this has looked like for other districts and other teachers. And so if you're struggling or facing any challenges, I'm happy to help you to kind of think through those as well.
Yeah, and I would add just one other kind of unique opportunity that's for our dual credit students that's not available for our on-campus students, and Gail touched upon this with her class typically meeting twice a week, in our dual credit classes, typically meeting every day or every other day for an extended time period if it's on a block schedule. Our contact hours for a 3 credit hour class would be 48 hours for a semester. With a dual credit class, typically it's, 90 hours ish or so a semester. So there's a lot of flexibility and things that you can kind of lean into and really expand upon and dive into that isn't necessarily always afforded in a on-campus class. So do keep that kind of in the back of your mind, with you're thinking about and talking about the benefits of your dual credit class, but also just kind of, maybe some of the extra things that you'd like to dive into when trying to meet some of those college course objectives. Two reminders here before we jump into the Q&A, because Gail and I have been talking for about 20 minutes now. One thing is that for dual credit instructors, all of our dual credit instructors are offered 2 free courses every semester for either themselves, their spouse, or their dependents. So if you have children or if you want to take a free class or anything like that with Ivy Tech, you are able to do that. Just reach out to your K-14 director and they can get in touch with your HR, the Ivy Tech HR office, and they'll get the paperwork set up for you to do that. But 2 classes, 6 credit hours, typically runs around $1,000 a semester. So if you have children who are attending Ivy Tech, you can at least save yourself $1,000 a semester, which is a nice little extra benefit. You also can download anyone with an Ivy Tech email. So our dual credit instructors, this also applies to students as well, can download all the Microsoft Office products through my.ivytech.edu and use their Ivy Tech login to download all of that. And that will stay active as long as you have your Ivy Tech email. So as long as you're a dual credit instructor. Those typically run around the Microsoft Office suite products, typically run around $100 a year. So you can save yourself $100 that way as well. I will say the one caveat for the free courses as a dual credit instructor, you've had to have taught dual credit for at least a year. So once you get that first year under your belt, then you're eligible those uh, uh, for those benefits right there. The other thing that I wanted to send out a friendly reminder is just to ask everyone to try to get those professional development modules done. They're not due till April 1st, so you have 1 day short of 5 months to get it completed. Typically takes around 2-ish hours or so to get it done. So after or during Christmas break, great time to do that if you have some extra time on your hands then. But we do need to get those modules completed. That is an accreditation requirement. Same with like site visits, syllabi, all of that type of stuff. Everything that we ask of our dual credit instructors to do, it's an accreditation requirement. Often a best practice as well, but we don't want to add extra things to our instructors. We try to be respectful of everyone's time and everything that's going on. Okay, so we've been talking for a while here. Wanted to offer this opportunity up here for myself and Gail to answer any questions that some of our dual credit instructors might have for us.
Mark, may I ask a question of them?
Yes, by all means, yes.
Yes, I'd like to get some feedback. So I contemplated running a course, a specific section of the science of reading for current practitioners. And so I thought perhaps about a Saturday morning class, just the once a week meeting for 8 weeks that would serve as a refresher. And so since Mark mentioned that you all have the opportunity to take courses for free, I thought I would ask you if there would be any interest, or if there are if that would be helpful to you in terms of your PGP points or whatever. So just curious if there would be any interest in taking our Science of Reading course. And folks are like, no, we have enough to do. And I totally get that. That's okay. I get it. Thank you for your honesty. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. And I'll take that under consideration when I make my next schedule of courses. So I appreciate it.
And Gail and myself have put our email addresses in. So if you do want to reach out for that opportunity, or if you have, if something pops in your mind afterwards or something like that, sometimes some of the best questions I think of are on the drive home after the meeting has ended. And I always want to touch base with someone afterwards. So we put our email address in there. So want to give the opportunity here in case anyone else has any other thoughts or questions. We do have 19 more minutes, but I will not hold us for the whole 19 minutes. So maybe 19 more seconds if there's no more questions, but want to give everyone the opportunity. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We do appreciate it. Gail, thank you for joining as well. I always try to end all of these dual credit discipline dialogues with a big thank you for our dual credit instructors. First off, thank you for joining today, completely optional. It says a lot about all of you joining to kind of, once again, lean in to try to pick up something new, think of any new opportunities that would be available for you or for your students. And then also just a thank you for being a dual credit instructor. I know there's a lot of extra work that goes into being a dual credit instructor, some extra things that are required of you, often that you do out of the goodness of your heart, that you don't get extra compensation for, and you do it because it provides your students with a lot more opportunities for them, both at the present moment, but also in the future once they get done with high school. So thank you for everything that you do for our students. This year across the state of Indiana, we're on pace to probably serve around 95,000 high school students who will earn at least one college credit. This year. We also will have probably over 10,000 students. So think of a high school graduating class. About 10,000 of them across the state will end up with some sort of a completion certificate, technical certificate, some sort of stackable credential that will get them going towards a better place in life. And all of that is not possible without our dual credit instructors. So thank you for all that you do. If you ever have any other questions, just feel free to reach out to us with our email, and we'd be happy to get in touch with you. So thank you for everything, and have a nice rest of your Monday.